Hello and welcome back to Azure Terraformer. This is episode 4 of our multi-tenant Azure App Service refactoring. Last episode we got through a bulk of the shared infrastructure, and if you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe and ring that bell when you do so you know when my next video drops. Now we're going to look at the client infrastructure and see what we can do. Some of it might move out up into shared infrastructure, some of it might stay. Find out on this episode of Azure Terraformer. Okay, so there we go. We got that deployed. Our shared infra is looking nice and neat and tidy. Now let's go work on our client infrastructure. So this is, again, a root module. So let's go look at this guy. We got nothing. I remember that. Yeah, we stubbed this out. So this is a placeholder. So let's go look at our client, actually. And we have this client deployment module. So let's go grab this. I'm going to copy pasta this. Okay. So basically I have client 1 and I have client 2. So I have 2 copies of this module that previously were being deployed, you know, basically like this, but with their own back end and with their own root module, essentially, right? So there's a client name and there's a location. Okay, so I think right off the bat I can just, you know, extract some of these common things or the unique things, right? So I'm going to call this client config. We'll just clients, and this is going to be an array. And what uniquely identifies a client? Well, we're going to have a client has a name, and I renamed these, but it was client 1 and client 2. Is the address, the subnet prefix is different. Okay. We'll call that the address space is going to be different from client 1 to client 2. So client 1 is in 10.11.1. blah, 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 whatever. Okay. And client 2, we're going to copy pasta and throw in client 2, and client 2 is in 11.2. Okay, wonderful. And then all these other things are the same, pretty sure. Just eyeballing it here, but the region's the same. This key vault access ID is the same. The database configuration is the same. Okay. So now what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to rename this client deployment, and then I'm going to set the count equal to the length of my local.clients. And then I'm going to take the client name and I'm going to say local.clients count.index.name. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the address space. So address space. Wonderful. Okay. And we're good to go. Now I can delete this altogether. Everything else stays the same for the time being. Of course, I'm probably going to take a knife to the database info and all that and have a good time there. And I'm probably going to take a look at this key vault access stuff because I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm not too keen on that. So we're gonna give this a go. But for right now, this should be okay. So let's go look at this. We don't have outputs, variables. We might as well just grab the module. We might as well grab the provider version, you know, from our shared module and just get that going. Okay. And now I think most of the cleanup is going to happen in this client deployment module. So let's go back and let's go to the client infra and let's just run Terraform in it and see all the nasty that's going to happen. Okay. So we got some problems. I did not even update the path to client deployment. So we got to go up a folder and then go to modules. So that'll fix that. I think modules. See, the relative pathing is such a pain. So I'm in client. I mean, it's the same. It's the same as this, right? So it should be modules. Yeah, modules. So what's probably happening is in my client deployment, this thing is using a whole bunch of. Oh, well, yeah, this is a mess. Okay, so we actually have problems with the client deployment is like not using the correct path. This is another reason why, if you're going to use modules. Any reusable module, even if that reusable module has a different like place within the hierarchy of the composition of your system, like it's more complex than other modules, then it should still be in the modules folder, and you should find a way to have consistent relative pathing. Otherwise, the relative pathing becomes a big pain in the butt. So, anyways, where do we begin here? So the first thing I want to do is I want to snipe this Terraform remote state. That's going bye-bye. I don't want that anymore. The resource group, we're going to have to clean up the client name here for sure. I should probably bring forth the application and environment name. We can maybe treat the client name as if it's like the application name or something. Or also use that as part of the thing. Oh, is this? I think this is leftover. Actually, I don't know if this is in the original source code. Maybe I just put that in there. But we're probably going to use that because we're getting rid of the shared state. The client config has got to get reorganized. App Insights. App Insights. I actually don't want to do App Insights. Like, remember I was talking about the operator layer? I don't want to have a siloed operator layer. I want all of my logging to go to the one place. And then likewise, like, why do I have a key vault that has the same username and password stored in it for every customer? Like, it's okay if the customer has their own like key vault with their own keys in it, but this makes no sense to me. Like, why do we have the shared password that is the same for all customers in the same place? Doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense to me. So I'm probably just going to move the key vault out, okay? And I'm going to move the application insights out. I think subnet, the network is just a subnet. The blob and the database, I think, should stay. But in my shared infra, which is actually my regional deployment, this is where I need my app insights to go. And actually, the app insights and the key vault are probably okay. I mean, the app insights in particular, you could use one app insights across regions. So I may just use like one app insights, and the key vault, however, you know, it's probably going to be important. It doesn't cost a lot of money to throw that key vault in multiple regions. So for the simplicity's sake, I think I'm just going to leave these as, you know, as regional items here, and we're gonna leave them in here. So now let's fix the path. So where are we? We are in our shared infra regional module, which deploys a single region of the shared infrastructure. And we are adding an application insights here. And so the path to app insights is, we do have to go up one folder, but there is no longer a modules folder there. Like, up one folder is the modules folder. So that goes away. Now we need to be able to carry forward the naming convention of this module. And so we pass in the application name and the environment name, and we are using the location to name things. So we need to make sure that these modules here allow us to pass in the name. Now, again, remember, you've got resource-oriented input variables, and then you have, for resource-oriented modules, and then you have deployment or application or system-oriented input variables for deployment or system-oriented modules. This Key Vault module is a resource-oriented module, yet it has a client name on there, right? That inhibits the ability to use that Key Vault module in a reusable way. So we're going to have to refactor both the App Insights and the Key Vault module. Let's start with App Insights. So let's go into App Insights, and there's nothing here. It's kind of crazy. So this is what I call a resource wrapper module. This module really does nothing but deploy this resource, and the only value it's doing is hard coding the application type. That's it, and it's got some naming convention embedded in here, which we don't even like. So I'm gonna kill this module. I'm gonna just remove that resource and copy pasta it here. And now we're gonna fix the naming convention. So we can just take because this is a location, right? We're gonna go like that. The prefix, according to Microsoft Azure naming convention standards, is APPI for App Insights. And now I can just take the resource group name and the location, and I can copy pasta that there. And the application type stays other, no big deal. And this now becomes my main App Insights in this region, and we're done. Now let's go look at the Key Vault. So Key Vault, boop, boop, boop. So Key Vault, we've got a random string we're generating. Not too keen on that. So we have some embedded naming logic in here with a random string. If you're going to create a reusable module, and you want the resource that module is going to deploy using a random string, don't embed the random string inside the module. Provide a way to provide a generic name for this module, and then pass the random string in from the outside. Not against using random strings and names, as you guys should know from this channel, but yeah, just don't do that. Also, try and avoid using data resources inside of a reusable module. It's just as easy to pipe that in from the consuming module as it is to reference it in here, and this traps the tenant ID. I mean, that's what you need, a tenant ID for a Key Vault, but now this traps that tenant ID. What if you want to use a different tenant? You have locked that into this module. So client config is a very common resource that is very easy to pull out. So I'm going to extract these into my shared region module. I'm going to create a little Key Vault area. We're going to stage all the Key Vault changes in this area. I'm going to move the Key Vault module into that file so that we can keep all this stuff together. Now, I'm going to get rid of client name, and I'm just going to call this name. Okay, I got rid of the random string. I like the Key Vault, but it needs to be a prefix, so I'm going to call KB. Now, because this is a module, we are going to have to pass in the resource group and the location. We are going to have to pass in the tenant ID. And, I could leave some of these things in here, that's fine. Allowed action, none. I kind of like that. Also, this was a nit from my code review. Why not just pass in, the address range? So I'm going to call this, this is subnets. So we'll just call this an array of subnets. And then we're going to have like IP rules. So we're going to clean that stuff up. We have a role assignment. So rather than using an access policy, it looks like we're giving whoever this is an Azure role assignment. This is actually takes higher privileges for the Terraform user to. I didn't notice this in the last episode, but the role assignment actually takes higher permissions for the Terraform user to create, whereas you could just as easily create a access policy in the Key Vault. So I would probably opt to do that. And then likewise, I probably don't want to hard code these things, the data with the database, right? So I'm going to throw this out of here, and I'm not even sure what this application ID is. It looks like we're concatenating like maybe an array. We have an array of access IDs, and we're just going to throw that in there. I want to get this done with access policies. I don't want to get this done with role assignments. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to take my secrets out of here, and we're going to dump them into here. And you know, to be honest, my key vault is like module. The value of this key vault module is getting smaller and smaller. There's like less and less stuff in here. So I might, let me group, before I do anything, let me group these. The most important attribute should be at the top, and it usually should go name, resource group, location. So that's like a little nit. So yeah, I mean, this is all that's left of this module. However, there is one thing that I know about Key Vault. You always need to provide your Terraform user to have access to the Key Vault. So typically it is nice to have Key Vaults inside of a module, because then you can at the very least just wrap a Key Vault access policy for the Terraform user, because that's just got to get done. So let's go do that. And we'll just call this Terraform, the Terraform user access policy. And we are going to rename this to main. And we're going to throw that in there. And then actually, because this, I'm going to break my own rule. Because the Terraform user should always be the user that's executing Terraform here, right? It's okay for me to use this, to use a local version of this client config. Otherwise, so the tenant ID should still come from the outside, but because this Terraform user is the current user, it needs to have access to the to this key vault. So I'm kind of breaking my own rule there. But I'm going to put this down with the access policy. And so now we've got client config, current, and we know that is the key vault user. And let's just go update the secret permissions to allow the Terraform user to do stuff. Okay, again, my Terraform user probably doesn't have to do all of the things, but okay. So encapsulating this into the module will actually guarantee when we draw a dependency on this module that before we create any secrets, this module will have been provisioned in all its glory, which will include access for Terraform to those to the key vault, which is actually a critical thing. So this module, now we've saved it. This module is a good thing. Now let's go fix these inputs here. We no longer have this like access thing. We do have an array of subnets, which we can, outside where we're creating the module reference, we can construct a single item array, not inside the module. And we do have this IP rules collection, which we can again construct a single item array as we see fit. And there we go. We do not need the database password and all that, because this key vault we're not like provisioning the secrets with the key vault. Let me get rid of hyphens and names. Otherwise it'll be a big pain. And now we need to get the key vault ID from the module. So we're going to go module.keyvault.id. And we need to make sure that we're outputting the ID of the key vault in our module. Now I just thought of that. So let's go do that. Outputs, and vault ID, this is actually where I would use relative naming conventions. So this is a key vault module, which its sole responsibility is to output the key vault, generate a key vault. And so it's not a stretch to presume that the ID of the module is the ID of the key vault. And I think if we just make that clear, it should be fine for people that are consuming this module in the future. They'll get with the program. Okay. So now I've got these. I've got my key vault declared here. I need to have a name. So I don't like client name. We're going to call this just the name of the key vault. And I don't think we don't want environment at the level of a resource module. So I'm just going to get rid of that. We don't need database stuff anymore. We don't need the storage key. We need to change this to subnets, and it needs to be a list of strings. And then we need to have a IP rules, and that needs to be a list of strings. And then we can get rid of that, and there we go. And so already the interface for our Key Vault module is much tighter. The Key Vault itself is much tighter. It has limited responsibility, and it's doing some good stuff. Like it's enforcing some network rules here, which I haven't really paid attention to, other than the fact that I've refactored the way we specify the subnets and the IP rules and all that. It doesn't seem like default action. It doesn't seem like these are correct, but I'll have to go back and check that later. But I'm going to assume the original author, OP, was like diligent there. Anyways, let's go fix the name. So we're going to set the name to kind of the same naming convention that we name everything in here. And we don't have to pass in the prefix for Key Vault because the module will do that. So we just need to pass in the stuff that we want. Now this actually might not work because Key Vault needs really long names for stuff. So we might have problems. I might rue the day that I delete this random string for the Key Vault name. Might happen. I do need to get the tenant ID and pass that on there. So let's put the tenant ID. We don't need the storage count anymore. And let's just go get the data.this.current.tenant ID. And we are good to go. And you know, I like the object references names here. These are good names. The problem is, so they are creating a dependency on the access assignment, right? So that's that role assignment that they were creating. I don't have to do that anymore because I have declared by implicitly creating a dependency on the module, and because I've encapsulated the access policy within the module, this creates a dependency on the Key Vault and the access policy. So I don't need to explicitly call out this depends on anymore, which is kind of nice, cleans that up a little bit. I do need to get the database stuff. So I'm pretty sure it was like this thing. And so the database password is going to be something off of here. Administrator login. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. And then this is going to be administrator login. Okay. So I have administrator login and administrator login password, and those are going to go into secrets, and I'm happy with those. Now, storage. Seems like storage is going to need to be at the client infrastructure level. So I'm not going to put this in the main shared infra Key Vault. It's going to actually go into the Key Vault at the client infra level. Okay. So before we do that, let's just make sure we have all of our files saved, and let's try and update our shared infra. So we have some problems here. So we still have the client name on our Key Vault. Let's go fix that. Yeah, client name goes bye-bye. And we probably want to just use the resource group location, kind of Boy Scouting at this point. This probably wasn't one of those errors, but I saw it. Okay, and the tenant ID. Unsupported argument. Did I not declare that variable for tenant ID? Probably not. Oh, my IP. So this thing, shared infra. So I'm not a big fan of this whole my IP thing. Local.myip. Where was that? That was probably in the client deployment. Yeah, so it's this thing. Is it? Local. Yeah, it's this thing. So basically, this is a way of getting your public IP address. And I mean, I guess you could do that. Not a big fan of that, but you know, let's leave it in there for the time being. So let's just throw that in here. And where is that? We're just gonna chompa. We could throw a local in there. I kind of like what they did there. Okay, and local my IP. Okay, wonderful, wunderbar. Yeah, we probably need to init that. Network, oh, the subnet. Oh yeah, there's no subnet. We have no subnet. So yeah, what are we gonna have to do with the subnet? We're gonna have to do something about the subnets. So that's definitely something that we're gonna have to fix later. We can't do that right now. I'll have to think pretty hard about how we do that. In my key vault, is there a way to create network ACLs after the fact? I think that's gonna in fact impact our design. Key vault network. And it does not look like there's a way to do this in a non-deterministic, like in separate resources, which is what we'd need. So this becomes problematic. But then the question is like, well, why does the tenant need to be, this is probably why they put the key vault in the client infrastructure from the get-go, because they wanted to have the key vault isolated to that particular subnet. So for the time being, I'm just going to say all clients are going to go into the same subnet. Honestly, like why do the clients have to be in different subnets? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at our virtual network module, which is just a subnet. I'm going to go grab this thing and I'm going to create a subnet. And that is going to go into, okay, our network is going to become a thing. We're promoting network. Okay, and there's our subnet. And I got to move my VNet out of there. Okay. And we are going to put a VNet here. And now we're going to just say, yeah, app. This is where the application goes. And we are going to, this is so nutty. So we get to get rid of that. We need to have a name for this thing. We'll just call this, we're not going to have a different subnet for clients. It's going to be the application subnet. Now, why am I missing things here? Okay, so virtual network name. It's these element functions are just throwing me off. And then we need the resource group name. And then we should be good. We don't need this splitting business anymore. Address prefixes. Again, this is like, because this is going to be hard coded now, you know, the address space can probably get a little bit cleaner. So we're passing in a WAC 16. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it pass in, you know, the prefix, and we're going to assume that the VNet is going to be a WAC 16, and we're going to assume that the the subnet space is going to be a WAC 24. So we're going to change this. The address space is going to be a prefix. We're going to add the WAC 16 to the end, and then we're going to take this and we're going to dump this into so you get two of those. So 10.11 is going to be the root network space, and then we're setting up our virtual network with that in that root network space, and we have a subnet for our applications that are going to get deployed into here. And we don't need the client name anymore. We can just call this the application delegation. I like it, it rhymes. The service endpoints, this is being passed in as an input, so we'll probably have to go check out the client config here. Service endpoints, I'm not sure why this is like hard-coded here, whereas it's not hard-coded elsewhere. Okay. And so this should be fine. Address space, network, SNet, subnet, all the things. Now with the key vault, we can grant the key vault access to the subnet. Okay, so let's reinit. Yeah, so our naming convention is ridiculously long. So that's gonna be a bit of a problem. So what we can do is we can try and find ways of shortening the name. Maybe we drop the location in lieu of like an index. The application name and environment name are already pretty short. I think it's the region name that's just like screwing us up. So we can pass in a location index. Okay. Sometimes when you do multi-deployment, multi-region deployments, in order to get the naming conventions using an index in a predictable way, you have to use region index. So here we can very easily use the location index just by saying count.index. And so now we have the location name, which is a really long string for some Azure regions, and then we have a location index. And so for our key vault, when we name our key vault, we don't want to use the really long location. We just use the location index, and that should shorten things up to make it a little bit more compact. And if hopefully we're already pretty compact with the naming convention for our application and environment name, we should be able to get away with this. So there we go. KVCR3 shared prod 0. Invalid CIDR notation. Did I screw this up somehow? Oh, yeah, it's not 24. The subnet itself was a /16. That's kind of insane. Yeah, that would never work. Okay, I think we're okay now. Okay, so while it's deploying, I can get rid of some of these old modules. We are using the Key Vault module. We're no longer using the App Insights module. We're no longer using the Virtual Network module because, I mean, that's just a subnet with delegation on it. Storage blob, we'll probably get rid of this. SQL DB, we're probably going to get rid of that. Key Vault can stay. App Service, probably going to stay. We'll see. Okay, the shared infrastructure is done. Now let's move on to the client deployments. This is a long one, so hang in there with me. The end is going to be great. I hope you're having fun so far. So thank you to my internet stranger out there. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Also ring that bell so you know when my next video drops. Appreciate it. Until next time, this is the Azure Terraformer signing off.